Hello everybody, welcome back at Rework It. I am Kladi from Printmysoul and I'm here with Jesús Ramirez. Hi Jesús, how's it going?
Hey Kladi, I'm doing well. How are you?
Good, thank you. So we finally managed to be back today, and thank you so much for everybody that is joining us here in the chat on behance.net/live. If you are watching from YouTube, make sure to head on behance.net/live so we can read your comments and answer your questions while we rework your work during Rework It. I want to say quick hello to the chat, Jesús, and then I'm gonna let you talk about more Rework It and what this is all about. So I want to say hi to team. Nice to see you, Sean, Steve, Rajat. Thank you so much for being here with us. Polk, RB, what's up? Let us know as usual where you are watching from. But Jesús, tell us more, please, about Rework It.
Yeah, definitely. If you're new to Rework It, welcome. Rework It is a show where Kladi and I go through your Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign files, and we try to rework them live to give you tips and tips on how to improve those files. And hopefully we can all learn something along the way. If you want to submit your work, make sure that you head over to iamkladi.com/reworkit. iamkladi.com/reworkit. And I believe my screen is being shared. Great. And from this page, what you need to do is click on this button that reads Submit Your Design. When you click on that, this window will come up. Make sure that you enter your email, name, Behance profile. Make sure that you include your Behance profile because we do want to feature you. If you remember, yesterday's artist didn't have a Behance profile, so I encourage you to create one if you don't have one, and just upload the file that you sent to us so that you at least have one project there. And maybe after we select your file and rework it, you can redo the project based on the suggestions that we gave you and then update it with the new file. So make sure that you create your Behance profile if you don't have one. There's a data consent, and also let us know what apps you use to complete your design. Even if you use apps that are not in there, that's okay. Just select the ones from that list. And also let us know if you have a specific question with your project. Sometimes you may need help. If you're working on a composite, for example, you may need help with the lighting or with the perspective or whatever it is that you need help with. Just let us know in the comments. And of course, click on submit. Again, you can find this page at iamkladi.com/reworkit. iamkladi.com/reworkit. And yeah, Kladi, anything else you want to add before we get started?
No, everyone is saying hello, and I think that everything is good. I think we're ready to go.
We have our good friend Mariana Cabral in the chat.
Hola, Mariana.
Mariana is with the Adobe stock team. Good to see Mariana. Mariana and I met in Guadalajara, Mexico during the Talentland conference about maybe 3 years ago. I forget, but hi, Mariana. Thank you for joining us. But yeah, let's jump right into it. So I'm going to open up Photoshop, and we have this file that we actually teased yesterday because I opened up the wrong window yesterday. But this is Abraham Allen. Abraham is a student from Pakistan, and this is his Behance profile here. And as you can see, he really likes doing these neon effects. He's 17 years old. So it says that he's a 17-year-old boy expressing his imagination through artwork and learning with it. So fantastic. Abraham, thank you for your submission, and definitely keep working. So make sure that you follow Abraham at Abraham Allen, excuse me. Abraham Allen is the Behance profile. And yeah, check him out. And this is the file that he submitted. And it's actually a really well done image. There's a lot of things done right. The thing that I'm most happy about to see is that he named all his layers. Look at this. Named all his layers. All his layers have a name. Isn't that amazing? I know I drone on about the layer naming, and he named them all, which is fantastic.
So
Fantastic.
sorry, before you get going and start to rework the file, I just wanted to make a little note. Still, we are still in March, which is International Women's Day, and I want to specify because he was very kind when he submitted this work and he messaged me also on Instagram because he created this for all women. So this is a tribute to International Women's Day, and I thought it was nice to mention.
Fantastic. Yeah, thank you so much for including that, Claudia. I didn't see that in the notes, but I'm so glad that you brought it up. So yeah, it is a Women's Month, or day. What was the?
Well, he submitted it during the International Women Month, which is the 8th of March, but we celebrate the entire month, so International Women Month.
Fantastic.
Great. I mean, we can celebrate the entire year as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, let's celebrate the entire year. That's, yeah, definitely. But yeah, so this is the image that he submitted, and we are going to rework it. So I'm just going to do what I usually do, click and drag down the eye icon so that we can see what the layers are really doing, and then I can talk about the individual layers. First of all, background. I'm a big believer that if a layer is not really doing anything, like the background layer, you should just get rid of it. Like in most cases, this blank white layer is not doing anything, just creating clutter. So I always like to delete it. So just delete anything that is not doing anything. Also, I mentioned in the past, if you have a lot of blank layers, like, I just created a whole bunch of blank layers, you could always go into File, Scripts, and delete all empty layers, and Photoshop will delete all the layers that don't have any content. So make sure that you do that so that you have a clean layers panel. Abraham did a fantastic job here. The only layer that I think he needed to delete was the background layer, which is not really a big deal. Then we have this layer that says flowers for here. I believe he meant to say her, but I don't know. Also, I don't know what he really meant. I'm just assuming that that's what he meant because of the theme of this project. But anyway, it's a smart object. When you double click on that smart object, it will open up in a new tab, and you'll see that there's nothing really going on with that smart object. So I'm not really sure why he converted that into a smart object if he didn't apply any effects to it. I wouldn't do that. It just adds to the file size for no reason. So only convert a layer into smart object if you're actually going to do something to it. But in this case, I'll just leave it as is. But I necessarily would have not made it into a smart object because all his layers are creating the effect, not necessarily this particular flower layer. So no need to convert it to a smart object. Then we have this cooling blue layer, which is actually an ingenious way of applying this color tone. He's using the photo filter. The photo filter is found under the adjustment layer, and you can go into photo filter and just select one of the filters that you see here. And basically what Abraham did is he selected one of the blue cooling filters and just reduced the opacity to 50% just to give it that blue tint. Totally fine. To be frank with you, I'm not a big fan of using this adjustment layer. I prefer to do my cooling and all that sort of stuff using Camera Raw. Maybe we'll do a little bit of that a little later on, but it's totally okay doing it this way. I just prefer using a different tool. Then he's got this black layer for darkening colors a bit. Again, I necessarily wouldn't do this with just a layer like this. I would have probably, if I'm going to use an adjustment layer, I probably would have gone with the levels adjustment layer and then maybe, cool the layer down or darken the layer down a bit just by dragging this slider. I think it gives you more control, and it also allows you to apply contrast to the image, and it's just, to me, a way of doing the same thing but with more control. But again, there's nothing wrong with using just a black layer like he did, changing the blending mode to soft light and then setting it to 20%. Totally okay. I just prefer a different method. And then Abraham added this layer here, which is a gradient fill set to radial. If I set it to, let me just set this to 100% so you can see what that looks like. It's basically, whoops, let me make this one white. So basically you can see that just the outer edges here are dark, and he changed the blending mode to, I'm assuming, multiply to get that effect. Let me see what he did there. Oh, actually, no, he didn't change the blending mode. What he did is he just used the opacity set to 0%, and that works too. And this creates this vignette. In my opinion, I would have not, this is probably not the best way of doing it. The only reason I would do a vignette using this adjustment layer is if my main subject is not in the center like it is here. So my main subject was like on the top right, maybe I would use this method. But since the object is in the center, I would just use Camera Raw to create the vignette. I think you'll get a better result that way. And again, I'm definitely going to use Camera Raw since I mentioned it twice now. So that's where I'm going. So I'm going to remember, I better remember to remove this layer when I use Camera Raw. And then he's got this layer here called Color Booster. And what it really is doing is it's applying, making the highlights stand out more. And you can see that he used the fill opacity, which is a very, very smart thing to do, because if he reduces the opacity, he'll get a different result than reducing the fill. He actually gets a better result with when reducing the fill on this one. And let me just undo that and put it back to the way he had it. I think he was at 20% or something like that. So there you go. That's where it was. And then he had these, he called them neon things here. Neon things. So he's got these neon elements. We talked about this yesterday, actually. He's using vector elements, which is fantastic. We talked about how you can create all these extra elements by using pixels, but if you use vectors, like I said yesterday, they'll give you much better results because you get sharper edges. They're resolution independent. That means that you can stretch them out as much as you want, shrink them, do whatever you want, and they'll always remain at the highest possible resolution because we're using vectors, mathematical equations, Bezier curves, not pixels. So this is the way to go. So good job on this, Abraham. And then we have his name. His name is so dark that you can't even see it. It's right down here. I think this is his name. Yeah. Abraham. I guess he likes to use the word here on everything. So maybe he did meant to say here on the flowers. So Abraham here. You know what? I wouldn't be so shy, and I might actually, you know, maybe not, you know, make the name completely white so it stands out more. Let me. Oh, so I don't have that font. So what I'll do is I'll just create a color overlay, but I wouldn't be so shy. Maybe I would use, you know, something like that where his name is actually a bit more visible. So I don't know, something like that. Maybe that's too much, but I think you get the idea. I think the point is that you don't have to be so shy about showing your name. Just make it a little, if you want to conceal it a little bit so it doesn't stand out, that's fine. But I think that making it completely black just makes it, you know, almost invisible. So you do want to make sure that people see that you made the image. Tim is saying perhaps this was supposed to be a sneaky watermark. Yeah, it might as well be a sneaky watermark. You can definitely do that if you want, but like I said, I don't think you should be shy, but you know, that's just my opinion. So yeah, so this is how the image was created. So a couple of things that I said I would change would be the color booster. Oh, no, not the color booster, the color blue, the cooling blue. I don't think I would do the cooling blue on a layer like this. And also I wouldn't do the vignette on here. So what I would do instead is I would apply all those with Camera Raw. And actually, now before I get into Camera Raw, so I'm glad he made this into a smart object because now I don't have to, but I'm going to do an adjustment to this. The first adjustment I'm going to do to this layer is make it a little bit brighter. Like we have these neon elements that if this were the real world, it wouldn't necessarily be so dark because there's so much light everywhere. So I think I need to brighten that up. So I'm going to go into Filter, Camera Raw Filter, and that's going to bring up the Camera Raw Filter window, which came up on my other window, but I can drag it over. Here it is. And let me enlarge this. And what I'm going to do now is just make it brighter. If you go into the basic panel, you can make it brighter by making the shadows brighter. See that? So I'm just going to make the shadows brighter and then just add a tiny little bit of exposure to brighten the whole thing up. And I think that will do the job. And yeah, I think that looks pretty okay. Maybe I went a little heavy-handed on the brightness, so I'm going to actually reduce it a little bit now. So you can double click on the label to bring it back, and I'll reduce the exposure just a tiny bit. All right, this is going to be good enough. Next, what I'm going to do is make sure that I don't have the vignette, and I'm going to take all these layers and right click and convert them into a smart object so I can put them all into a smart object. And the reason that I'm using a smart object, sometimes you may see me use the Control-Alt-Shift-E command to duplicate all the layers and to duplicate and merge all the layers. So a new layer will contain all the layers below. The reason that I just put it into a smart object now and didn't go that other route is because this composite really didn't have that many layers. So I know that this computer will handle it no problem. But if you're working on a laptop or something like that and you have multiple layers and you put them into a smart object, that might create a huge file and your computer may not run fast enough. So the alternative would be to press Control Alt Shift E on Windows, Command Option Shift E on the Mac, and then that new layer, that's where you would create the smart object and apply everything you're going to do. But in this case, we could do it fine. There's not that many layers, and there are a bunch of vector layers anyway. So what I'm going to do now is go into Filter, Camera, Raw, Filter. And from here, we can make adjustments to this image. And it looks like I should have probably gone the other route just because, let me see, Control Shift E, put it onto a new layer, convert to smart object. So that was the other route. And then Filter, Camera, Raw, Filter. There we go. And the reason is because I didn't want that outline in the back. Since I'm going to create a vignette, it just makes it a whole lot easier. So first things first. So we had a cooling filter earlier. I'm just going to drag the temperature to the left, and that takes care of the cooling. See that? And this, I can adjust it any way that I want. So just a little bit to the left to add a little bit of that cooling. And then I can adjust the highlights accordingly so that everything looks good to my eye. I can also adjust the shadows from here. I can make all these different types of adjustments. I can increase the texture just to make the petals pop a little more, clarity, which is contrast in midtones. I can increase the vibrance, which adds saturation to pixels that don't have a lot of saturation, and it protects pixels that are saturated in skin tones. And I can add a little bit of detail. So I can sharpen the image. And the cool thing about the sharpening in Camera Raw is that you can apply it selectively. If you hold Alt on Windows, Option on the Mac, and click on the masking slider, everything will be white. Just like inside the actual Photoshop layers, white on a layer mask means that it reveals, and black conceals. As I'm holding Alt and dragging this slider to the right, you'll notice that Photoshop starts finding the edges. That means that Photoshop is now only applying the sharpening effect in the areas that appear white. So I don't really want any sharpening effect in the background. I just want it in the foreground. So I can drag this to about here. And the petals, mostly, for the most part, are the ones getting this sharpening effect. So it looks super cool. Then, if need be, you can go into the color mixer and then adjust your image. For example, I can go into the aquas here, and I can adjust the hue. So make them a little more green or more blue. Totally up to you. Increase the saturation, decrease the saturation, whatever looks good to your eye. And you can, of course, do the same thing to the other areas. So maybe increase the saturation on the orange, increase the saturation in the yellows, and in the reds, I'm just trying to make the flowers pop a bit more, something like that. And this is the other way that you could have applied that blue toning effect if you wanted to. You could have done it in the color grading. You can select the circle here, click and drag over and pick a color, and then just adjust it accordingly to select the color that you want in the midtones, shadows, or highlights. Or you can do a global color adjustment just by selecting the global icon here, and then just selecting a color that it just applies it to the entire image. And in this case, I'm kind of liking how this is looking, so maybe I'll leave it here. Dragging up and down on this circle controls saturation. As you can see here, you can adjust the saturation from here if you like. You can also control the darkness as well, and you can control the hue from here. So totally up to you. In some cases, you might want to add a little bit of grain. In this case, I don't think we really need grain, but you guys know me if you've been watching the streams. I like adding grain to images, so I'll add just a little bit of grain, even though you probably don't need it. And this is the way that I would add a vignette. Remember earlier, he added a vignette by using the gradient fill. I think the vignette slider does a much better job. And I'm going to just go to an extreme. And the reason that I'm going to go to an extreme is to show you one of the reasons why I prefer this method is that we have the highlight slider here. So I can click and drag the highlight slider to the right, and notice that now the highlights pop through the vignette. See that? So that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to make sure that the highlights pop right out of that vignette. This is a light source that's emitting light, so a vignette that would cover that brightness wouldn't look good to my eyes. So I wanted to come in here and apply the highlights slider so that the highlights pop through, and then I can adjust the vignette accordingly. So maybe just a tiny little bit, like Abraham had it in his original design. And also, if you want to, you can go into the calibration and adjust the primaries, the RGB primaries, and in this case, maybe the blue primary, just to completely change that blue highlight, adjust the saturation on it, reduce it, complete, whatever you want to do to it. And I can press OK when I'm done. And that applies that effect that you see there. So like I said, Abraham didn't do anything wrong by using the adjustment layers. I just prefer to use the camera raw because I think it gives me more flexibility and more control over the images that I'm working on, or the layers that I'm working on, rather. Any questions in the chat, Kladi?
Well,
I see that you're
yeah.
quiet and active in the chat.
Yes, we were chatting about yesterday. I didn't want to disturb you, but I saw Michelle, Andreas Holler. Everyone was watching you editing, so I didn't want to disturb at all. But yesterday, me and Michelle were talking about fonts, and she sent me a message on how to edit fonts. So I just pointed out to yesterday's stream that I was hosting with the amazing Amber Asai. But please, feel free to go ahead. I just wanted to remind you as well that probably will be good if today, I think yesterday we left it on to do a share for review. So I just wanted to remind you that whenever you're going to be done with this project, maybe we can do a little test drive of share for review.
Definitely.
But
definitely.
I'm loving this project. It's so nice.
Yeah, and to be frank with you, it probably was a little heavy-handed on the highlights here. Now that I'm looking at it, it looks a little too bright, but I think that you get the idea that using camera raw gives you more control than just using the adjustment layers. Talking about camera raw, I'm sure that people here know that Photoshop released a new version of Photoshop, or Adobe released a new version of Photoshop last week, was it? Yeah, it was last week, right? I don't even know what week we're on anymore. But one of the new features is the super resolution in camera raw. So I just quickly wanted to mention, in case you don't know what that is. First of all, this is not the camera raw filter, it's the camera raw plugin that you find through oh my god, why am I having so much trouble here? Through Adobe Bridge, or through Photoshop actually, but through Adobe Bridge is probably the easiest way to think about it. And basically what that means if you go into File, Open, or you go through Bridge, this window will come up. And let me just go to where I have my YouTube tutorial files, because I know I have one here. Oh, actually it's not in here. It's in this folder, super resolution. So when you come in here, you can open up a .nef file. Well, this is a raw file, but it could be any type of raw file. This is a .nef file, but it could be any type of raw file. And you can also select the JPEG and open it up. But basically, let me make sure that I open one that doesn't have it. These are shots of Italy, Kladi, so you'll appreciate this. So basically, if I were to double click on this now, it will open this raw image in the camera raw plugin. But if I were using a JPEG, a PNG, or a TIFF, it will open up in Photoshop. But I want to open this up in the camera raw plugin. So to do that, you can just go to this drop-down menu, and from here, actually, is it under Open As? See, like oh, here it is. Open. No, that's not it. I think I made a mistake. I think you have to go into File, Open As, Open As, File, Open As, and there should be a camera raw thing here. Maybe it's gone. It's not even here anymore. And I should have just gone to Bridge. Maybe somebody in the chat could tell me, because I was trying to freestyle something in this. Oh, here it is, camera raw. Yeah. So make sure that you go into File, Open As, and select camera raw. You don't have to do this if you're going through Bridge, by the way. So File, Open, select camera raw, and then I'm going to go back into that folder where I had those files. Give me 1 second, and here I am. So I have these images I took in Italy, so I'm going to open them up. So when I open them up, they're going to open them up in the camera raw plugin, not in camera raw, the filter. So basically what super resolution allows you to do is to go into this drop-down menu, or not drop-down menu, the flyout menu here, and select enhance. You can also right click on an image and select enhance, and that will bring up this window right here. And I'm not sure why it's showing black here, maybe because we're doing the stream, but that doesn't look right at all. Let me cancel it and try it again. But basically what this allows you to do, yeah, there's something going on. I'm guessing it's because I'm streaming or something, but unfortunately I can't really show this as well as I would want. But basically what this allows you to do is to, first of all, increase the details in raw images. It reduces artifacts, and it makes the details come alive. And then super resolution is what's new from last week. This allows you to take an image. Look at how this image is 24 megapixels, 6,000 by 4,000. And when I click on enhance, what Camera Raw will do is double the linear resolution of the image, so that you can take that larger resolution and use it for a large display or for print. And notice that now we have the new version here. This is a .dng file, digital negative. This is an Adobe RAW file type. And notice the difference in resolution. This is now 12,000 by 8,000 as opposed to 6,000 by 4,000. So as you can see, it doubled the resolution. And when you zoom in and look at the details look pretty good. It's not, they don't look pixelated or anything like that. You still maintain all the sharpness. This is the original image, and this is the edited version. See that? See how we double the resolution and we still maintain the edge quality. We didn't necessarily blur the edges, and we maintain the detail while increasing the resolution of the image. So this is sort of this uses machine learning technology. So this is almost like using the new image. I made a video on it, and I can't remember the name of it, but it's under image size that allows you to upscale an image, and it tries to keep the edges sharper. This is sort of a smarter way of doing that. A couple of things: you cannot go past oh man, I cannot remember the number, but it's something like I believe it's 500 megapixels. So if your total file output is more than 500 megapixels, then there will be an error. That's the limit for Camera Raw. And also this works on raw images, JPEGs, TIFFs, and PNGs. This feature is not available in Lightroom yet, but I'm sure that it'll be very soon. Yeah, thank you for the comment there, Tim. Tim wrote the dimensions are doubled. The pixel count is quadrupled. That's 100% correct. So you quadruple basically the megapixels, and the linear resolution is doubled. So thank you for that. But yeah, that's one of the new features in the new Photoshop.
That's gonna be so useful, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Actually, a new feature in Camera Raw that I should mention is if you right-click on the panels, you can click the Edit Panels to Show, and then this window comes up, and you can decide what panels to show. So maybe you might never use any of these, right? So you can just hide all these, and actually I need a couple more. So maybe you only use basic curves and detail, but for whatever reason you might want detail on top. Well, you can move it to the top by using the arrow keys on the keyboard. When you press OK. Notice how, it's gonna restart Camera Raw, but you can see now that I have less panels and detail is in the top. So you can now edit the panels to show in Camera Raw just by right-clicking on any of the panels and selecting edit panels. And you can just enable the ones that you want, click on default order, and enable these because they went off again. And I can press OK, Camera Raw will close and restart, and it will come back up. So these are a couple of the new things that were released last week in Camera Raw.
Super cool, Jesus. Thank you so much for showing us. I was here literally taking notes, and I really, really enjoyed to see all these new features. And I think everyone in the chat was also enjoying it, and they really like the possibility of having this. I read a comment by General Kenobi. Twice the price, double the fall.
Yeah, so there's a question in the chat, but what happens to the original pixels? Are the pixels added in between those? Yeah, so the machine learning technology is trying to figure out how to best create those pixels. So people are commenting in the chat, yes, Sensei has those. Sensei is the artificial intelligence, and Steve said Adobe Cadabra Magic. Exactly, that's what's happening. And what I'm doing now is looking up an article. I'll find it really, really quick about this new feature. Really trying super fast here to find this article. It's an article from Adobe, and I'm trying to figure out exactly where I can find it. Oh man, sorry about that. I thought I was gonna be able to find it much quicker.
Well, in the meantime, while you look for that, I just wanted to say hi to everybody that has been joining us already to this second part of the stream. I see Umacron just join us. Nice to see you. Mallory, of course, Ferry Tuomo, nice to see you. Golden Rose, Anne, and Peter. Thank you so much for being here with us.
So I just posted a link in the chat, and that is to this blog article if you want to learn more about this new feature, this is from Eric Chan, who worked on this project, and everything you want to know about this new feature is talked about here in a very friendly and easy to read manner. So this is not like a technical paper, but you can see how all the different file types work. It talks about the bare pattern and the X-trans pattern. So if you have a Sony, Canon, Nikon camera, you're using bare raw file types. If you're using Fuji films, you're using X-trans. But it talks all about that and how this new feature sharpens the edges, even though it doubles the resolution, linear resolution, and quadruples the total amount of pixels. So make sure that you check this article out. It's really, really informative. Again, in a very, very friendly and easy to explain manner. This is not technical at all. There's a couple technical things, obviously, but they keep it very friendly. And this is an official blog post from Adobe. So make sure that you check it out. And I think I did paste the link in the chat. Yeah. So there you go. So check it out.
Hopefully Tim can translate it into a clickable link just to make it even easier, but is there. All you gotta do is to copy and paste otherwise. Thank you so much, Jesús. Yeah. That's super useful. And I wanted to know before we move forward, if by any chance did you receive an email with on your Creative Cloud, on your email, because I was already preparing to share the review for you. So before we bounce between screen, I just wanted to know if perhaps you received an invitation.
Yes, I got something. Let me see. Do you want me to show that on?
Yeah, on sure. And then we can transition from there into InDesign and then Illustrator.
So this is what I got from you. Is this what you're trying to send?
Yes. So this is an actual InDesign document, and yesterday we left it there at talking about the amazing share for review, which is an amazing feature of InDesign 2020. So I'm going to show you in a second, once we're going to jump into my screen, how you can share. I didn't want to give your email out during the live, Jesús, so I just thought to send you an email while you were already working, so we can add a look. But the most amazing thing, and I know that, Jesús, don't worry, I don't want to put you on the spot. I know InDesign is not your go-to app, so this is also a very recent feature. I'm more than happy to guide you through, although it's super, super easy to use.
Sounds good.
The beauty of using Share for Review is that you can review any file anytime from anywhere. It literally cuts the time of reviewing. When I was reviewing files in InDesign with my clients, and for those of you who were not here yesterday, we were reworking this file in InDesign, but most importantly, a lot of conversation were developing around the fact that what do you do with the file? Do you send an InDesign file to your clients? What if don't have the fonts, don't have the Creative Cloud font library? Well, that was my reply to all these questions. You do not tend to send the InDesign file unless they specifically request to do so, because they have an internal team. So, in that case, you just probably create a template, and then they have an artwork or a designer that will fill it in, especially for magazines or books. But for these kinds of projects that you maybe are working directly with the client, the best way is, in the past, was to send a PDF. There will have been an email with a PDF, and then a call to review it, in which I would have taken notes, and then again, perhaps another email to follow up, and then another call. So those are at least 2 to 3 different meetings that now we can completely jump off with this amazing review. In fact, all I've done is share the link with Jesús through InDesign. So I'm still in InDesign. I'm going to jump into my screen in just a second to show you that I'm never going to leave InDesign, and Jesús doesn't even need to have the Creative Cloud in his computer. And by the way, you can check that from mobile and tablets as well. Now, Jesús, if you head towards the I believe is your left side, where you have all the different tools in order to pin
on my left side or the right?
Right side of the screen. Yeah, all right.
Okay.
Sorry. Totally flipped everything from here. So those are the tools that will allow you to pin areas. So if you can click on the pin and then drop it anywhere in the document.
So we'll say
yeah, let's say that we want to
Let's
swap that image. So you just want to make sure that you pin it. All you have to do is to write a comment and then make sure that you submit your comment. And we can also delete some text. So if we go to the icon that has a little T for the type tool and is crossed, you will be able to highlight area of the text that you want to perhaps delete. So feel free. You know, I'm sorry, Anne Bichel. I know that she's here in the chat. But we're not making any real edits. We're just taking this amazing file that you created as an example to show how to review it with your client live. And as Jesús is doing, you can keep using those amazing tools. You can also draw. So if you use the pencil, Jesús, you can also change colors of the pencil. You have a little red dot there on top. Sorry, Jesús, I'm making you do the work.
Yeah, it's okay. So,
you can literally draw inside the document. So let's say that you want to swap images. Yeah, you can swap that to somewhere else. Swap them. Yeah, something like that. So, and then you always have to write a comment and then click on submit. Look what happens. I'm going to go ahead and move into my screen real quick to show you what's going on. So we're going to leave a screen. And let's jump into my screen real quick. You can see that I was here and everything that Jesús is doing live. Jesús, do you mind adding something else? So we're just looking at my screen and maybe draw or swap another image.
I'll draw something.
Yeah, I think that's the more visible. I'm not doing anything. I'm literally here waiting for the client to send any review. So two different things happened. First of all, anything that Jesús does will appear right away inside my document. So the actual drawings will pop up. And let me know if you're on the same page or on a different page.
I'm in that page.
Okay, fantastic. So we're hopefully going to see that coming through. And also, here it is. So we got a little bit of crosses and a little bit of text we can see appearing right away. Again, Jesús is modifying using a web browser. Anyone can do it from anywhere without having InDesign or without having even knowledge of what layout an InDesign is. And also you can see that there is a tab that opens up right away when I use the Share for Review feature that will allow you to edit and review each single comment. So every time that your client, in this case Jesús, is clicking on the submit button and creating a comment for review, that will exactly mirror here in my InDesign page. So we have the delete, keep and swap these. We have all the replace and fix and delete that Jesús is doing. And by the way, something that I want to make everyone aware of, because when I started to use it back in June, this feature, I was struggling with it, is that you must be in normal mode. So normal mode, you can swap between normal mode and preview mode by using the shortcut W, the letter W on your keyboard. So look what happens. If I press W and I go into the preview mode, all the editing comments and sign are going to be hidden because that's the final preview. So we don't want to see that. Well, if we do press on the W key again, you will see that everything comes up. So if for whatever reason you have sent a file for edit, you know that your client is editing and nothing is coming through, is because perhaps you are still into preview mode. So make sure to use the shortcut W in order to enter the normal mode, and you'll be able to see all these different editings. And what happened?
Yeah.
Let's see, for example, that is there any question or?
No, I just wanted to just drive the point home that I was not using InDesign. I was using the browser. So even if I didn't have InDesign installed on my computer, I could have done this. In other words, you can send it to anybody that you want and they can do what I did.
Exactly. And that's why I say like from anywhere as well. So I've actually swapped the images right now, and we can see that the note was tied to the image. So the note was moving. How do we remove those notes? Because of course we want to keep designing and we don't want to have these notes sitting there. Well, very simply, all we have to do is to make sure that we get to the right comment, and then we can very simply resolve it. And once we resolve it, then we can, it will disappear. So we swapped our image. I think that there was something here regarding deleting this image here. So again, we can do whatever the action and of course in this case for deleting, when we delete the image, the comment connected to the image will go away as well. And those are the pins.
Also, I just wanna say something. As you did that, I got a notification in my Creative Cloud saying that you had done so already.
Yes, exactly. The comments and the panel review mirror themselves. So everything that Jesús sees on his comments, I will mirror on my review panel, and of course is tied to notification. That means that when Jesús is also creating a review for the document, I will also receive an email, and the notification comes in two different ways. They come inside your email address, so your mailbox, but also inside your Creative Cloud app. So let's see, I have a lot of messages usually on my Creative Cloud, so it's a little bit hard to load them. I have all the lovely messages from Behance. As you can see, it's not opening, but you can see that there is a little alarm bell for notifications. That's where here we go. I think it was coming up. It's just a little bit temperamental because it gets a lot of notification. But you can see, here it is. Jesús Ramirez commented on Anne Michelle Rework It document. So that's another place where you can always keep your notification in check. I also have my notification turned off because of course we are streaming live, but otherwise I will have a pop-up notification coming also inside my my computer. So it's super easy. You know, it doesn't have to be necessarily in real time. You can send the file to your client. They can edit it, you get the notification, you jump into your InDesign file. But the beauty of Share for Review is that you can keep creating. You can focus on your work. I can potentially do not leave InDesign at all. I can keep working. And let me show you how did I access the Share for Review. Very simply, next to your workspace settings here at the top right of the page, you see this little box with an up pointing arrow. That is the share buttons. Once you click on it, in this case already have a confirmation of a sent notification, but otherwise once you click for the first time, you have different option to export your document. Of course, the one that we're looking for is Share for Review. Now there is also a little option here in terms of sharing. You can of course invite as many members as you want simply by clicking on the plus icon and click on add people. You can invite by placing their email address. Of course, make sure you know that it is the correct email address for the person, otherwise they will not be able to open the link because the link will be emailed to them. And you can write any comments. So if I'm working in a team and I have someone that takes care, for example, of illustration or just a cover, I can email that person and say, hey, on page number 2 there is this illustration that I would love for you to have a look at. And then I can email someone else part of my team that maybe is a copywriter, and I will just ask them to have a look at the text on page 4. So you can literally co-edit the document with multiple people at the same time, thanks to this amazing feature of InDesign. Also, something that is worth mentioning is that there is an option to choose if only the people that you have invited will view the link, or if anybody can view the link. And as you can see, you have it here from access settings. I'm gonna zoom in. At the moment it's set on invite only, so if Jesús shares this link with someone else, they won't be able to access it just because the only person that I wanted to access it is Jesús. But you can click on the down pointing arrow here and make it public, and in this case everyone who has the link will be able to use it. And something else that is also very important whenever you make any edits on your document. So as I don't think that you see any edits happening into your actual document, Jesús. I don't know if you could if you still have that open. It shouldn't mirror yet what I've done.
No, yeah, all the changes that I've made are still all the notes, comments that I made are still shown as they were.
Yeah, so all I have to do here is to click on update link. So make sure that after you do all your editings, you save your file. By saving your file, will not upload will not share with your clients, or in this case Jesús, that is acting like our clients here, the new version of the file. So once I click on update link, InDesign will create an updated version of the document. You do not need to reshare. The link is going to be the same. Of course, you have the possibility to copy the link from this little tab next to the update link. And Jesús, if you don't mind just heading to the document and maybe refreshing the tabs. You should still have the little link that I sent you through email. I don't know if you have it open it there. Should be one of your tabs. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna switch real quick to your computer because we should have right now the edits already up. And so we have the image missing that we deleted. We have the other two images that have been swapped. So simply because they updated the link, that means that the view for Jesús will also update. And that's I thought it was very important to share this feature because it's so important and it's such a great time saver. Everybody yesterday was really focusing on how to share a work with your client, if to share an InDesign file. Of course, if they do request it, by all means. I'm not saying that you shouldn't share your InDesign file with your client. Is not. It depends on the project, but that's the best way to accelerate the process of editing and review in InDesign. I will leave you virtually focusing on your work 100% of the time, because besides entering the share for review panel, you just can keep creating and keep designing using the other amazing InDesign tools. So that's it for InDesign for today. Yesterday, if you want to know a little bit more, we did more yesterday in the stream. I'm about to jump into, I know we got probably 10 minutes.
Yeah, just exactly 10 minutes.
I wanted to jump real quick in Illustrator and before...
Actually, no, you have less. You have 7 minutes and we'll leave
7
3 minutes
minutes.
to say goodbye.
7 minutes. So before I start to edit this file from Angela Fanguy, of course, I want to give her a big shout out for her on her Behance. So her Behance is behance.net/Angela Fanguy, and it has one work here, which is Dear Winter, is a New York photography artwork that she created. So I really enjoyed looking at these photos. The work that we're going to be looking at today, the logo is not there, so I'm going to head directly into the logo. So the logo is a roadshow logo, and Angela was asking different ways in which we can make it a little bit more modern or pop a little bit more. So I'm going to give a little bit of a rework it on one or maybe two, if we have time, version of the logo. Before doing so, I really want to take this opportunity for those of you that are looking to learn more about Illustrator to share one amazing project that is being launched just last week that I've been working with the amazing Illustrator team at Adobe, and the project is called Illustrator Conquest. It's a story of an astronaut exploring the Illustrator planet, and it's pretty much a game that will allow you to access Illustrator Artboard. So if you click on the little video here, you're going to be able to learn a little bit more about Piper, and you can see that there are so many fun animations. You'll be able also to access some, let me see if I can do it a little bit wider here. So here we got Piper with all the aliens from Planet Illustrator, and as you can see here from the video, you'll be able to watch the video together with Piper, learning new tools in Adobe Illustrator, and then Piper at the right time will direct you into these little Illustrator tools. By clicking on the Illustrator tools, you will be able to open directly an artboard inside Illustrator that will give you some instructions in order to complete that little stage of the game. So it's a super fun game. I really hope you enjoy it. I had a blast designing it and creating this experience. And let me know, by the way, on my Instagram or on Behance if you have a go at Illustrator Conquest. I would love to see up to which level you get to. So feel free to give me some feedback also on my Instagram, which is @IamKladi.
And what's the link, Kladi?
That's a very good question. Let me place it here in the chat. And I just have it here.
So yeah, just while you're looking for that. So Kladi designed Piper I mean, you did everything that's in here, all the designs, all the illustrations, the music, everything that's here, Kladi made. So if you love it, then it's all Kladi, and if you hate it, then I don't know what to say.
Now, hopefully we have fun. Again, you have a little bit of an introduction before starting the game, and that will allow you to understand how the game works. So all you got to do is to watch the video, follow the instruction, click on the buttons when Piper tell you to do so. And of course, to start, all you have to do is to click the start button in order to get started and to help Piper to complete those missions and go back to Earth. And I mean, there are so many little aliens. I had a blast. I cannot complain. That was definitely a fun project to work with. Fantastic. But let's go back into our Illustrator. So for those of you who know already a little bit more about Illustrator, or simply want to know and learn how can we make some consideration regarding a logo creation. In this case, the work shared by Angela Fanguy. There are many different logos that comes that attracted my attention for positive, but also for negative characteristics. One of them for me is legibility. So something like this logo here has a lot of elements. So we got the roads with a lot of details, then we got circles with multiple lines, and then the stars. And the main issue for me is that leaves the text really tiny, really small. So that's perhaps the biggest comment that I have throughout this production. You really want to make sure that the name of your brand is legible. I'm really fond of those much simpler illustrations. I think that they are very bold and they really stand out. The one that calls in a little bit more of diversity, and I think is a great way of summarizing all the different elements that you have in this logo, is this one here with the star. I love this idea of having the star and then the road and then the star at the end, but all this logo seem to have too many elements. While this one here that we can see on this little artboard, it still has element of the road, the line inside the road, this sort of movement that takes you upwards towards the star, but is a little bit more minimalistic, which I think is the best achievement when creating an icon or a logo, iconography, just like this one. I'm going to click on the artboard tool and just open a new artboard. Again, my comment here will be that in this format, the logo still retains a very tiny typeface. So the text is still too small. What I will do here is to move the text on the side so we can take full advantage of both the icon and the text. And perhaps if we're going to put it on the side, I'm going to head into my properties panel and align it to the left. And then here I can make it bigger. Now I'm making it bigger from the character panel as I have a room because I'm working with a text type. In order to change from a text type into a point type and be able to edit your font much faster, all you have to do is to click on the selection tool or press the letter V on your keyboard. By the way, a little trick when you are typing is very tricky to find and to use other keys, because of course whatever, so for example if I press the letter V, what I do is just going to input the letter V, or if I use a tab to maybe I cannot find my panels, I want to bring them up, so usually you will do that with a tab key. Well, the way of getting out of this situation in which you cannot use your keyboard, because otherwise it will only input elements inside your text box or your text area, is to press the escape key. So when you are writing and you have the text there, perhaps you still want to keep using your keyboard because you're used to shortcut, all you have to do is to press the escape key and you will be able then to just press the letter V in order to activate the selection tool. And once you do that, we know that we are working with an area type, because we have two little handles coming out of the area type with one pointing right and one pointing down. That's signature of working with an area type. All you have to do is to double click on the side handle, and as you can see, we now change into a point type. So the area will shrink just around the text, and we're going to be able to modify the text simply by dragging that text box. So in this case, we're not going to increase the area of the text, but we're just going to increase the text itself. Of course, look what happened when we drag out, it's going to be distorted. So make sure to hold the shift key in order to maintain the proportion of your text. And of course, the text is still live. We're still dealing with the text box, but in this case, it's a point type. So, I mean, probably I went a little bit bolder here. I will definitely use the ruler. You can bring the rulers up with the shortcut Command R, that's Control R on a Windows, and maybe you can start to see if you want to line up your text up to the star, and maybe just the internal illustration. Of course, those are details that you can refine in your own time. But my main concern was to make sure that we really take in account the legibility of that name. And I will probably even go to the, let's see what happens if we even take away those rectangles. See, that's what I'm talking, that's when I refer about being minimal. We still retain the star, we'll still retain the road, we have the sense of movement, but look how much bolder and how much easily you'll be able to read the brand name and the logo compared to the other one. And I've used exactly the same elements that were there in the same file. So I didn't change font, I didn't do anything, I just took away the little rectangle, the bounding box. I don't think that we need it, especially if we have the text of the same height. And Jesus, please let me know if we are almost out of time.
Yeah, I was just going to say we have less than 2 minutes.
There is any question in the chat before?
No, we let's, if you're done, we can just say goodbye. But
I see that there is a question on conquest. So how much does it usually take to go through the whole Piper mission? So each mission is I believe 3 minutes long. So they're really quick videos. You can do them like in probably 15 minutes if I remember well. But that's fine. So we got 20 seconds. It's time to say goodbye. Make sure to submit your files. Thank you so much, everybody, and we're gonna see you soon here on Rework It in 2 weeks. Thank you so much, Jesus. Bye.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.